Stay tuned. Your program will begin shortly.
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 Stay tuned. Your program will begin shortly. Stay tuned. Your program will begin shortly.
Welcome everybody to the Ohio Valley Sports Online Coaches Show, West Virginia Playoff Edition. This broadcast is sponsored by Bill Blakemore and the Blakemore Insurance Agency of Weirton. Bill, we really appreciate the support that you've provided for all of our broadcasts as well. My name is Tony Lelly, and I'm here with Dan Vogel, and we're here with the last man standing in the Ohio Valley, at least on the east side of the river, and that's head coach Frank Sisinni of WEIR High. The WEIR High Red Riders will represent the Ohio Valley in the Final Four of West Virginia Secondary Schools Activities Commission football playoffs. The Riders, with a ranking of number 5 in the postseason bracket, will face the number 1 seeded North Marion Huskies in Farmington, West Virginia this Saturday. Game time, 7:30. WEIR High earned the right to play in the semifinal game after defeating the number 4 ranked Scott High School Skyhawks in Madison, West Virginia last Saturday by the score of 35-33. Coach Sisinni, thank you very much for taking the time to spend with us today. Congratulations on a crazy, exciting football game last week. Coach Scott High School was a team with a 10-1 record featuring Kennedy Award finalist quarterback who threw for over 3,000 yards during the season. Their lone loss was to a Nitro team who, at one time of the season, was ranked number 1 in the state. And Scott turned around and avenged that loss with a shutout the very next week. So, for all intents and purposes, that team was really undefeated. All right, so here you are, underdog, and going into the game, and understand not 100% healthy. Coach, can you give us a little insight on your preparations for that game?
Well, you could start with, you had mentioned that Nitro and Scott had played back-to-back, which was unique when it comes to the playoff scenario because, they played week 11 and Nitro had beat Scott. And we made the trip to go see them play right after we won our game. And then we went to go see the playoff scenario where they played Nitro. And we got to see the eyeball test, make a long story short. We got to go watch them play and see the eyeball test of seeing Scott High School, seeing the environment, seeing what we were going into. So that was part of the prep. It started the night after we beat Frankfurt, or the next morning, where the coaches jumped in the van and we drove 4 hours round trip, or 8 hours total. Yeah, and we got to see, Scott High School live, and we saw Matt Fry, quarterback, that we'd have our hands full, which you end up seeing because I know you called the game. That they had some talent on the perimeter, and we had to go down and give them our best effort to go ahead and pull that W out. So it really started there with the preparation.
Well, I'll tell you what was a great game. The first half, things didn't look very good for you. You all kind of sputtered a little bit. They were hitting on all cylinders, and you got down 14-0. You come back with a really big play. Demir Mauder caught a long ball, which put you up, or put you 14-7 before the half, and it kept it close. And we were wondering, kind of adjustments that you'd have to make in halftime. So, give us some insight, Coach, on what that was like.
Well, at first it started where Matt Fry, Matt Fry being Matt Fry, he had hit on some big targets, big plays early. And it was more of a sidearm release how he was doing it, but he was dropping some long passes in there on the mark. So we knew at that point immediately, like, okay, this is as advertised. We're going to be in for a challenge. So they drove down and scored, and then we shot ourselves in the foot numerous times with a little bit of the nerves and what was going on with that game. And, we never really kind of got our traction there in the first quarter. And we were just telling the kids, settle down, keep cool, everything will be all right. And one thing I learned through the year, this is a resilient group, and we'd seen that from week to week, whether it was the Toronto game or the Frankfurt game the first time, or even the Brook game where we were in a battle there into the half, that we knew this group would be resilient and they would keep fighting. But the biggest thing, they went up 14-0, that we just kept telling them as they were coming out the field, come on, keep fighting, a lot of game left. So what happened from there was we ended up having a big stop there in the second quarter, and we ended up getting the ball back, and then we connected on the big pass to Mauder. Really, it was a jump ball vertical right in front of our bench. He went up and out contested their DB, and Demir was off to the races. When that happened, we were like, okay, let's get we're right back where we need to be. It was that confidence momentum shift was starting to happen, but Scotty got the ball. Late in the second was driving, and we had another big play by Demir Mauder, where right before the half we had he had a big interception.
In the end zone?
Yeah, big interception there.
Oh, yeah.
Which now gave us the 14-7 into the half. We'd weathered the big storm what we had saw. That we knew that we had deferred. We were going to get that ball back, and we had kept harping at halftime that we're right where we need to be when it comes to like we took their biggest shot. Let's go ahead and put a big drive together coming out. And that's exactly what happened in the third. And that's whenever it really shifted in our kids' mind that, like, hey, coach is right. We're going to do exactly what we're supposed to do here. So we put a 10-play, 66-play drive together and went right down the field. And, before you know it, it's 14-14, and we got a whole new game going on.
Yeah, and masterful, be able to get in teenagers' heads and to keep them calm, Coach. That says a whole lot for you and your staff.
Thank you.
I just wanted to take me there toward the end of the game. You guys were putting up a goal line stand for the most part, and it really took some time away from you on your final drive. They finally score, right? So it's less than 2 minutes to go, and Coach, here it was, playoffs, less than 2 minutes to go. Final drive. Shed a little light on what happened there.
Well, it was back and forth there in the third, and there was an extra point missed there somewhere along the line by Scott, and we would go by one or so, and then back and forth. But as the fourth quarter progressed, we had some big plays that had happened. Corey Lyons had scored. Devin Colson has stepped up and made some big catches, but his biggest play was the 85-yarder where he made a couple guys miss, and he was off to the races. But we couldn't quite get the Fry kid under control, and it's almost like you want to can't stop but hope to contain him. That old cliche thing that's said, but
get run over slow kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
But it was like 4th and 9, I believe, going towards the scoreboard end, and he had scrambled, and they had a tailback leak out, and he flicked one out there and got him the first down, which puts them in a scenario where they're right there in our red zone. Yeah. We tried to hold them on downs, and then they end up scoring, which gave them the lead with less than 2 minutes to go. And it was this eerie calm about it. Where we're like, okay, we've been going up and down too. So looking at the time, maybe he left a little bit too much. I thought he left a little bit too much on the clock for us, considering what we had been doing. Yeah. Hey, we'll be fine. We're gonna, and that's really what happened here. We just kind of got the message to them, like, all right, let's start this drive. Let's do what we need to do to get down the field. We had 2 timeouts at the time, so I knew that whether we ran the ball a couple times, that we could burn some timeouts. And they went into a prevent look, and they left us the perimeter. That's why a lot of people were asking about that. We ran a lot of speed option there. We were just getting it out to Corey, and then getting trickle up and down the field and try to get ourselves in a manageable spot to where we can maybe take a shot there at the end.
You mentioned eerie calm. When it just seems like as a fan and you're watching the game, a minute and a half, you wonder how can so much happen in a minute and a half? And of course, everyone, including me, we're all on a bundle of nerves. So, trying to picture what it's like to be the head coach in that position. I know I have been, years ago, but that's really an exciting time, and to see what unfolded with us. And when your quarterback, Malachi Stromo, wow! I mean, he must have been crazy when he broke that loose.
Yeah, it started where he got sacked, and then the clock was ticking. Now we're under a minute, and then we had a concept called out.
Any
in
panic
the trips.
on the sideline at all?
No. We actually, I made my way to Corey at some point and told him as the doubles formation we were using, the safeties were widening out, that we thought that we can get something out the backfield up the middle as the game is progressing. And I told him at some point we're going to take that shot. Somewhere in the third quarter, I told him that can you get and clear the backers for me? He's like, yeah, I got you, coach, because that's the same comment he had of me at the Brook game on the last pass. But
Scott, you got to feel good when the quarterback says, I got you.
Yeah, it was Malachi and Corey. And we're sitting there, and it's like, as the game was moving on, that we had a sprint game called, and Malachi, tucked it and took off. And being Malachi and the wherewithal of knowing that, all right, I'm not going to score, but he was like 35 yards into the run at this point, that now he started to make his way to the boundary and made a beeline for the sideline.
We were yelling.
Smart enough to do that, which was high-level stuff for a kid. But that's what these guys have been doing all year, 15 seniors. It's just nothing phases this group.
That's awesome.
So he made his way out of bounds, and then that's when the call was made where we come back to, hey, let's hit that, let's go doubles. Let's hit that back. It was a tailback post.
Right. So, lines over the middle.
Yep, and they were widened out because we were hitting a lot of perimeter stuff. And that's really what happened. Malachi, they said when they broke the huddle, they had a real strong idea that this was going to be open. And that's really the tail of the story, where it was really a tailback post out of a spread scenario, just clear the backers, and he should be there, and that's what you end up seeing.
It's really sweet, and I thought kind of poetic. You weren't able to get Lyons he wasn't getting much production, but then he scores the go-ahead touchdown down the middle. Yeah. I'm sure he felt really, really good.
Exactly.
Really good moment for him.
Yeah, he has quiet outings where you don't think he's doing a whole lot, and he ended up scoring a touchdown. That was his second touchdown of the game, and for him, athletes in space. We try to get those concepts in play, and that was one of them that we always have. We have numerous ones that we use, and it's from week to week and whenever scenarios present themselves. But, Coach Taylor, our offensive coordinator, had installed that play and had that in ready to roll. And it was just basically like watching the defense, watching how they were expanding and taking that shot. And it's nothing different than, they earn a prevent defense, and, hey, you can't take those shots deep. You might get a picked off ball. So that's where the perimeter plays with the speed options were happening there. So it was a series of things from a series of athletes and coaches that really just kind of kept their cool, stayed the course, and before you know it, we're on the correct end of this one, and that's a tribute to the players, the coaching staff, and everyone that was involved in that one.
Yeah, and it looked like that you all rehearsed the whole quarter. It was something to see, Coach. I really appreciate being part of that thing. Okay, so we're going to take a break right now, and
Blakemore Insurance Agency is exclusive to the senior market. We represent a variety of Medicare supplements or Medicare Advantage plans, giving us the ability to offer some of the most competitive products from the top insurance companies in our country. Our loyalty lies with you, our customer, not the insurance company. Many of today's seniors are completely overwhelmed with turning 65 and going on to Medicare. Call Blakemore Insurance Agency today for more information. 304-723-0909. Blakemore Insurance Agency is a proud sponsor of this broadcast.
All right. So we're back at High Valley Sports Online Show, sponsored by Blakemore Insurance, and we're talking to WEIR High head football coach Frank Sisinni. Coach, it's always a goal of a football team and the staff to be coaching during Thanksgiving week. So I know that there are, it's something to look forward to, but I know it sends its own sort of challenges. Like if you talk a little bit about that, how it went this week and so forth, or your history in that.
Okay, well, it's been a whirlwind of crazy. We got back late from the charter buses on Saturday evening, and the coaches were in here Sunday morning, starting on North Marion. So that led into the week, and then a little bit of preparation for the week, because we're not going to have the elaborate production we had last week with the hotels and traveling all the way into Charleston, and now we're only 2 hours away. But we wanted to treat the kids right and come back and have a charter bus for us, because we had scrimmaged this group before and we had gone down in school buses. So it's about a 2 hour trip. It's not real far of a trip, but enough that we want to keep these kids comfortable for this one. So we had to line up some charter buses, and I was in here with Mr. Arnaud, Ted Arnaud, who's our building principal, who is our acting AD at times, because Mike Del Rey, who's in California for Thanksgiving, couldn't be around. So I sat with Ted all day Sunday, and credit to him, because these guys have made this seamless for me to go from point A to point B with 60 people all around the state of West Virginia last weekend to now doing another miniature version of this. I can't say enough about Coach Arnaud, because he was a previous coach up at Oakland High School and has been in the coaching business for a while, understands the scenarios that we're in. That he, really helped me with some guidance and, some questions and answers about, things that we need to do in this trip. But I've been around the game for 24 years, so I've been part of Thanksgiving weeks before.
And the biggest challenge is what, do you think?
It wasn't too bad this week, because the kids in Hancock County were in school on Monday, Tuesday. So I know they're in a school element, and they are with me right after school. But really where things changed was today, having an early morning practice, and then we'll have another practice Thanksgiving morning, and that's always tradition. Anyone that's playing at this time of the year where there's Thanksgiving, and it's like kind of a football holiday in a way. And anytime you hear Christmas music on the radio, I always tease guys about that you're a pretty good football team. When those things are going on, you're still going to practice. It's an exciting thing. So these kids have always heard that story from their from their uncles and people in the families that have been in these scenarios where, you have the practice in the morning, you come home and you got the turkey dinner and all that stuff, where to have a playoff prep Thanksgiving week means you're a pretty good football team, and you're playing pretty deep into the playoffs. So the kids are excited about that, trying to keep them where they need to be in their mindset. But we'll come in Thursday, have a great practice, and maybe some any alumni or watch us can come in and visit us and watch practice Thanksgiving morning. But we'll be here Friday again as well with a Friday practice, and then Saturday it's game day, obviously, and we'll be playing Saturday night, 7:30. So we'll have the kids come in early in the morning, and we'll have a whole itinerary laid out for them when it comes to what we're doing and where we're going. And, I think we're going to have a nice little early dinner on our same schedule when it comes to what we do weekly. We'll be eating early, mid-afternoon, early dinner time, so that we can head into Farmington and play our game against North Marion at 7:30.
So how about what time you expect to get to Farmington?
You always want to plan for about 2 hours before kickoff, so we always shoot for between 5 and 5:30 when it's a 7:30 kickoff. So then when it comes to the logistics of the buses and the kids and the equipment and all that stuff, you allow some buffers in there, so where you can have any scenario pop up that it should be fine. But I've been in dialogue with where we're eating about our time frame and window. They're going to have some food pre-prepared so that we come in there, eat, and get moving. But we'll eat somewhere in the Morgantown area and then head off from there. But there's a little bit of tweaking to the schedule, the itinerary, that we will definitely draw on some things that we had learned and I'd learned in the past from some of the coaches I've been around, like Coach Roberto. Like I said, I mentioned, we did this in 2018. We actually traveled into Fairmont to play Fairmont Senior. But in this case, it's the same area. We'll be heading to North Marion this time, and we're just kind of leaning on the guys that showed us the way prior to us.
Good. So overall, how do you feel about this week's preparation?
Very good. It's business as usual. We're trying to keep it.
Kids seem focused?
They are very focused. We had a very good practice today. We definitely want to keep them elevated, not too elevated because we're too far out from the game. But, we had a really good practice today. We had a lot of kids are excited. A lot of kids that are new to this because we have a very large freshman group. So what a time for our young kids to see the way that the WEIR High way, the standard of what we want here when it comes to playing in these games and playing in championships and playing deep into the postseason, to where these seniors have been tremendous with showing these young guys where they need to be throughout this process. And next time when it's their turn to make this little run, that they'll understand what will happen during Thanksgiving week.
It's also really good to have those extra few days of practice for those young kids.
Yeah, you're right. Anytime they can get extra reps. Right now, a lot of kids are onto their other sports and doing different things, and our kids are still playing football, and we're ecstatic about this opportunity and where we're at with the program.
Very good, Coach. I'm excited for you. Hey, so we'll take another break, and when we return, we're going to talk about this week's opponent.
Blakemore Insurance Agency is exclusive to the senior market. We represent a variety of Medicare supplements or Medicare Advantage plans, giving us the ability to offer some of the most competitive products from the top insurance companies in our country. Our loyalty lies with you, our customer, not the insurance company. Many of today's seniors are completely overwhelmed with turning 65 and going on to Medicare. Call Blakemore Insurance Agency today for more information. 304-723-0909. Blakemore Insurance Agency is a proud sponsor of this broadcast.
We're back at the High Valley Sports Online Coaches Show, sponsored by Blakemore Insurance of Weirton. And we're talking to WEIR High head football coach Frank Sisinni. All right, Coach, so you're underdog again. This time you're facing the number one team in the state in North Marion. Also, you're facing another Kennedy Award finalist in a quarterback named Casey Minor. This guy's a dual threat guy. He had thrown for over 2,000 yards this year, but he's run for over 700 and 14 touchdowns. What can you tell us about your preparations for North Marion?
Well, we like being the dog. The pressure's on them, right? We consider the fact that Scott High School was the number one team in the state for mainly the whole year, and they dropped a few spots because they got upset. But we knew they were up. They're one of the top dogs, so to speak, and North Marion had taken over that spot. Now they're the one when it came to this playoff scenario. But our kids are very confident because we had scrimmaged them early in the year. It was our second scrimmage. We actually made this trip. We've gone down to Rachel, West Virginia, and played North Marion in our second scrimmage. So I have a nice relationship with Coach Hayes. Darren has done a tremendous job of building up North Marion football, and they're in the conversation again. They're in the Big Ten, they call it, which is Bridgeport football, Fairmont Senior football, and East Fairmont having a good year this year. They're in there, but we have a relationship there, so our kids know a lot of the environment they're going into. Not quite like game night, but we did scrimmage there in our second scrimmage in August, and we do know and very familiar with their athletes. So there's been a 3-year window now. We've been scrimmaging each other back and forth. So there is a common knowledge there, even though we're the dog. We accept that role if that's the case. But we're also going down there understanding that we know what we're going to be up against. You get a little snippet of opponents because when you scrimmage someone, you're not getting the full picture because there's maybe a 10-play script or there's personnel in and out you wouldn't see on a game night. So we know those variables can change when it comes to North Marion football. But we are preparing for Casey Minor. They run a lot of 5-wide stuff. They really try to spread you horizontally and run at you. He's got a strong arm, so their athletes on the perimeter can run and catch. They've been doing that to everybody. But we feel like we just watched, and played that same kind of stuff down at Scott, where we face a tremendous quarterback. We'll get the same approach this week. The difference between Minor and the Fry kid is Minor is more of a tailback, can run and throw, and he's going to hit you with his feet when it comes to between the tackles. So they'll do concepts and things like that there that, we're prepping for and getting ourselves ready for when it comes to the game plan. But, the game plan's been installed over the weekend. maybe little tweaks here and there, how it's going to progress. But when it comes to North Marion football and how they run their offense, it's all through Casey Minor. And we have to understand what concepts they're going to throw at us, what they want to do, and limit the big plays if possible. I know it's hard to do, but you want to try to limit those and make minimal mistakes as you progress through this kind of a game.
I thought that you did a heck of a job last week to be able to actually be successful in accomplishing that same. Like you said, they're a very similar team. I'm very much looking forward to being at the game. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us?
I'd like to say a special thank you to our fans. Our fans, we had a very strong group of fans that traveled about 4 hours all the way down to Madison, West Virginia, and let you know we hear you and we appreciate that. And we're gonna challenge you to come out and make the trip down to North Marion and support us. And we're gonna play our hearts out for you. And there's one thing about this group, from the coaches all the way through the kids and the support staff, that we're playing WEIR High football. We're playing a tremendous brand of football, and the standard here is state championships. And they know, and our kids know, that we want to put something out there that the community's proud of. And I think we're doing that. And now we want the whole community to come out and get behind us and enjoy their Thanksgiving dinner. But keep in mind that on the weekend we got some entertainment for you to come down and support us down in North Marion High School this Saturday night. That's
really great, Coach. Thanks a lot. And that's going to wrap us up for today. Coach Sisinni, we'd like to thank you for taking the time to be with us today. I'd like to wish you and your staff and all the families a blessed Thanksgiving. As a reminder to the listeners, High Valley Sports Online will be at the game in Farmington on Saturday. Game time is 7:30, with the broadcast beginning about 7:15. Myself and my partner, Sean Blametti, will stream an audio-only broadcast of the game through our website, Facebook Live, and YouTube. Just search High Valley Sports Online in your favorite browser. High Valley Sports Online will also broadcast the Steubenville Big Red semifinal game versus Dayton Archbishop Kettering Alder. It will be live audio-only broadcast on Friday night. Game time is 7:30, with the broadcast beginning approximately 7:15. So from WEIR High School, this is Tony Lelly along with Dan Vogel and our sponsors, Bill Blakemore Insurance Agency, wishing you all a very blessed Thanksgiving.
Fort Steuben Maintenance should be your first choice when it comes to any and all construction projects, whether it's commercial or residential. Make Fort Steuben Maintenance your first call. You can rely on them to be the experts when it comes to roofing, concrete, plumbing, carpentry, just about any job that needs done. Fort Steuben Maintenance, they're fully licensed and bonded and will even give you a free estimate. Fort Steuben Maintenance. You want the number? 740-283-4890.
Welcome to the Ohio Valley Sports Online Coaches Show, featuring head coach of the Steubenville Big Red, Reno Suckoch. Today's show is being sponsored by the good people at Fort Steuben Maintenance. Running the dials for us, as always, will be Dan Vogel. Ray Suckoch could not be with us today. I'm Steve Daly, and I'd like to welcome everyone to our show today. Coach, first off, congratulations on the hard-fought 14-7 victory over Thornville Sheridan, which resulted in your team's second consecutive regional championship and the program's 20th regional championship in the last 40 years.
Thank you. We appreciate that. It was 14-7. Seems like 100-0. It was, no difference. But just the passion from both teams was there, and we're just happy that we made the big plays when they counted, and there were 1 yard gains and no yard gains that were big plays, not just the 50-yard gains.
Right. Now, before we go into the game itself, I need to extend my apologies because I wasn't there, and I'm a superstitious person. I don't think you're that way, but I went on the run with Dan and Jim DiCarlo when the girls softball went to the state semis. Did every game throughout for them. The only game I missed of yours this year was week 1 Ursuline game. So I took Janet and the family to Notre Dame this past weekend. I wasn't going to be able to do the game, and now I'm watching it and I'm sweating it out probably just as bad as you guys are, because I'm like, I don't want this on me, So I have to apologize for that. But
you had to drag her there because she would never put Notre Dame in front of Big Red.
You're right there. Listen, she couldn't put the phone down though. She kept trying to show me. I'm trying to drive but no, I kept it on the road. So, talking about the Sheridan game itself, Coach, they entered the game scoring an average of 35.3 points per game and only allowing 11.6 per game, including 5 shutouts. Your run game proved to be effective as Xavier Falks accumulated 168 yards on 28 carries and a touchdown. Jalen Minifield added 85 yards on just 6 carries and a touchdown. Aiden Manning added 112 yards through the air. So the offense moved the ball effectively and accumulated almost 400 total yards. So talk a little bit about your offense, first off, against the Sheridan defense.
It really wasn't, as far as Sheridan and Steubenville and offense and defense goes, it was our pre-snap penalties once again. And we just, the first time we got the ball, we got it like on our own 12. We took it down to the 4 and didn't score. Then we got good field position on the 25 and didn't score. And we're normally pretty good in the red zone. But, we just blew a 14-point lead right there. But as far as a running game and passing game goes, your running game only has to be good enough to set up your passing game. And I thought our running game was good enough. And it was even more than good enough. But as far as we're concerned, that's our philosophy. Our running game has to be good enough to set up our pass, and we have to take advantage of opportunities. We didn't take advantage of opportunities, and we even gave a couple away. But in the long run, our kids, when it came down to the nitty-gritty, our kids made plays, and that's the best thing I can say about it.
Right, and that leads us into what really was the story of the night. Was your defense. They held a very, very good Sheridan offense to only 7 points and came up with some really big plays at the most opportune times to lead to the hard-fought victory. Talk about a couple of those plays.
Well, there was many plays. If I would say the play of the game, in my opinion, would be Minifield's tackle on their quarterback. We on 4th down at the timeout, we just told our guys, hey, the quarterback, any good team puts the ball in the hands of their best player. He was their best player. So it was the quarterback. And he almost had the edge, except Jalen made a great play coming off that block as a corner. I know the paper gave the credit to Lawson Lewis, but Jalen Minifield made that hit. And it wasn't even as close as the officials made it out to be, or the coach made it out to be. But in the coach's defense, you got to fight like hell for your players, and he did. But the truth be known, that was no gain. And Jalen, 150-pound on a 205-pounder, he made a great hit, and then the rest of the guys got there and finished it off. So I'm saying that was the play of the game. If it can come down to one play, that's the play I'm picking. And because it was their best player in the most crucial situation being stopped by our player. There were probably other key plays. They made some key plays. We made some key plays, but that was the key play. And the second key play, in my opinion, was when it was 4th down in our territory, and we called a timeout because we just wanted to make sure they didn't fake the punt on us. Being in plus territory, and that was it's tough to take timeouts, but that was a great timeout that Coach Fields asked to take, and our players were aware of they didn't end up faking, but I thought that was a time where they really could have.
Right now, Coach, noticing throughout, I want to bring up two questions. First question. Throughout the game, it seemed like there were stops in play. Was it equipment issues that the stops in play were being made for, or was it things with rules as far as what players were wearing? Because it was going on for both teams, I think, I believe.
I don't know what was going on with the other team, but I know that they stopped us because we had a kid had a thing around his neck, and then another one had a wristband on, and I mean that's on me. You know, when they asked you before the game, are you legally equipped? I thought then, you know, you take it as knee braces and hand.
Right, right.
You know, but you know that was a legitimate call. Very few people make that call, but it was a legitimate call, and but it stops momentum. You know,
Right.
just and then we had our doctor kicked out of the game, and I mean, you know, just. But it was rules. I mean, rules are rules, and some people stick to the letter of the law, and some people just worry about the game. But they were legitimate calls that ruined the tempo, and that's our fault. You know, we that's something we got to fix. And I'm glad we won and learned it. And now we'll make sure that we're properly dressed for Friday night.
Right. And then the second question I had is, as far as controversial type things, earning the S. What's the story with? There was such an issue made, kind of publicly, and traded back and forth.
It was nothing. I mean, you know, every coach does what they have to do. You know, I'm saying there was probably bulletin material. I don't know, but if it did come down to earning the S, and I'm sure that the coach didn't mean any harm by it. But I didn't say it. You know, it was in the paper that I said it.
Right.
And, you know, I really didn't say that. He said one of our fans said it. But if it came down to earning the S, Minifield earned the S for us, and I feel that we earned the S that night. And but, you know, they did a great job too. So maybe, you know, they earned their S on their helmet with a stripe, and we earned our S with a helmet without a stripe. So, I mean, I can't say anything negative about them. They coached their butts off. They played their butts off, and so did we. We just, at certain times, we earned our S.
Right.
And I'm sure that their coach feels like they earned their S, but that's immaterial. Our bulletin board was, if you can't get ready for this game, then you better get on to your winter sport. You know, if you can't get ready for a regional championship game, then you better get on to your winter sport or spring sport or whatever, what else you're doing next.
Right, right. And then the last thing, you know, before we move on, before we take a break and then move on to this week's game, you know, throughout the course of this season, you know, the development of this team, okay, when I say that team, I really believe what you have is a team. Sure, you have your individuals, you have but they play that way. And your comments in the paper afterwards, love and trust. Talk a little bit about love and trust and what a big part it is.
We've had some tough days here. We've had some days that were pretty ugly, and but on Friday night, for whatever reason, our kids they bind together and they play. I mean, they play for each other. They play for whoever they're playing for. But you know, some of our players might be selfish on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, but on Friday they play. And that's the best thing I can ask for them is the way they play for each other and how they motivate each other. And you saw when Manning went down, two guys helped him, walked off the field with him, and that just. As a coach, I think you like that better than victories, because those are little victories. When kids do stuff for each other, those are little victories. It might be a big win at the end, 14-7, but there were a lot of little victories before that 14-7 happened.
Right. Well, we're going to take
just like I'm interrupting you.
No.
Just like Cam last year.
Right.
I mean, Cam missed how many games in a row, and then all the players were so happy to have him back. You know, for that state semifinal game, and he was happy to be back. You know, and he went right in front of other people, but you know that was he earned his ass,
right,
and he had the right to play, and that's just a little thing like that. I mean, everybody was so happy to have him back, and normally you would say, well, we won 8 games without you, we don't need you now. We need everybody here, and we even need guys that don't play,
right.
But you know that just makes you happy as a coach,
right?
That's all.
So we'll take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about this week's opponent in the state semifinal.
You know, Fort Steuben Maintenance should be your first choice when it comes to any and all construction projects, whether it's commercial or residential. Make Fort Steuben Maintenance your first call. You can rely on them to be the experts when it comes to roofing, concrete, plumbing, carpentry, just about any job that needs done. Fort Steuben Maintenance, they're fully licensed and bonded and will even give you a free estimate. Fort Steuben Maintenance. You want the number? 740-283-4890.
Okay, welcome back. Coach, this week's Division IV state semifinal opponent is Kettering Archbishop Alder. They entered the game with an 11-3 record. They were the number 4 seed in Region 16. Their losses this season were to Division I Kettering Fairmont in the opener, 24-21. Division III Trotwood Madison in Week 4, 35-27, a game in which they led that game 17-7 at the half. Division III Hamilton Baden in Week 8, 29-24. So they got to this point through the playoffs by defeating the 13 seed Roger Bacon 42-0, the 5 seed Indian Hill 31-6, the 1 seed Clinton Massey 21-3, and the 6 seed Wyoming 17-0. They entered the game averaging 28.5 points per game, while allowing 9.8 points per game. They've only surrendered 137 points all year, including 5 shutouts, 2 of which came in the playoffs. And in those playoff games, they've given up a total of 9 points. Talk a little bit about, just to, familiarize some people. A lot of people aren't familiar with some of the teams that they play on their schedule or that particular region. We know you have a history with Clinton Massey and playing Wyoming last year. You have a history with Alder, but talk a little bit about that region, that area, and the football coming out of that area.
Well, number one, when you come out of that area, that's good football. People can, Cincinnati area is good, solid football. And I can tell you that the Kettering Alder has a coaching staff that's probably the only staff that's as old as ours. And they're well coached. They're well coached. Trotwood Madison, well coached, good athletes. Clinton Massey, you know about them. They won 2 or 3 state championships. They had a couple runner-up. They're a team. And Wyoming's probably the winningest team in Ohio for the last probably 10 or 15 years. So the teams they beat were good. So that tells you how important seeds are, because they're the 4th seed and they're still playing. Right. And the seed's only important to get a couple home games. But other than that, you got to beat good teams. And they beat good football teams. And when they lost fighting. And their 3 losses are to Division 1 and 3 teams. So, and our loss was to a Division 3 team. But as far as the number of points given up, they're good every year. They're a good football team. They're well coached, tough kids. They're just a well coached team that we're going to have to be at the top of our game to be able to be in the game in the 4th quarter. We have to be at the top of our game for 4 quarters.
Right. Now, I was able to watch 2 of their games. I watched the Indian Hill game, and I watched the Trotwood Madison game as well. So offensively, still the wishbone that they've always done in the past, traditionally. A little bit of eye backfield. They did show some spread. Things that I was most impressed with watching them, I'm sure, you feel the same way. Their offensive line is big.
289, 320,
right,
and 300. They're big, but they're but they can move. They're not big and sloppy. They're big and good.
Right. That's the point I was going to bring up. They played with leverage and they move their feet well. Yeah. The backs, okay, they have a stable backs they use, number 12, 24, and 26, and the quarterback number 7 can run as well, right?
Yeah, they're just and I think that's what they've added to their team is they've added that spread. So you not only got to prepare for the bone and the broken bone, but you have to prepare for the spread. So they have a couple of different things they can do, and it could end up being a mismatch of certain spots that we have to be better at what we do, and we have to be focused on what we're doing, and we have to know what type of offense they're in, when they're doing that. And but like I said, play solid defense. If everybody does their job, be responsible for your gap, then we got a shot. If we give up some gap integrity and everybody's not responsible for their gap and doesn't demand their gap, then we're going to be in for a long night. And then their defense is gap sound. I mean, they're, like I said, they're very well coached. They play a good man-to-man. They play some other zone. I mean, they do a really good job coaching, and their players are well coached, but they're well disciplined. They play good too, and that's just we have to play to the best of our ability. We have to coach to the best of our ability, and hope to get some breaks and take advantage of them.
Right. Yeah. Watching their defense, they gave up some yardage in those games. Those teams, were able to move the ball against them, and again, good teams. But when they got down in that red zone, that's where Alter really, really kind of locks teams down.
Good teams give some ground, but when it comes on nitty gritty time, they're where they're supposed to be, and they're a good football team. That's all I can say. They're a good football team. They play tough, but when we run the ball 3 yards, got to be a win. Like I told our backs, you get 3.5 yards, you get that 3 times, we have a first down. We don't have to have 50-yard runs. We need 3.5 yards, 4 yards at a time, and have a good enough running game where we can add our pass to it, and just protect the court. We just have to play good, sound football. We don't have to play great football. We have to play outstanding football. We got to play sound football. Everybody do their job, and hopefully in the fourth quarter you get a break and take advantage of it.
Right, absolutely. One last question I had, Coach, and then we'll wrap things up for this afternoon. But their option game. I'm an option guy, always was. The reason I would do it with my teams was because it's hard to prepare for as a team. Just some things, not to let out any secrets or what have you. Everybody kind of does it differently. But how do you as a team, when you face a true triple option?
Practice without the ball.
Okay.
So, everybody has their responsibility. And if you have a ball, then guys are looking at the win. Everybody practice your responsibility. Every snap, you're where you're supposed to be. Don't worry where the ball is. Be where you're supposed to be. I think that's the best way. That doesn't mean we're going to stop it. You're not going to stop the option, but hopefully our goal is to slow it down and get them back in the huddle. And the more times you get a team back in the huddle, the more chances they have maybe to screw it up or you get a big play or something like that. But option football is everybody has to be responsible. And we normally do a pretty good job with responsibility and hope that we don't have any cobwebs in our minds on Friday and that everybody's playing at the top of their game, doing their responsibility. And if we can do that, at least we'll have a chance in the fourth quarter.
Right. Well, I'd like to wish you and the Big Red coaching staff and the team the best of luck this week. I want to remind everyone that High Valley Sports Online will be at Westerville Central for the Big Red Alder State Semifinal. I'll be handling the play-by-play, and I'll be joined by Ray Suckoch's color commentary, and Dan Vogel will again be on the dials. We will go online with our audio-only stream beginning at 6:30. Kickoff is set for 7. High Valley Sports Online will also be at the WEIR High North Marion State Semifinal in West Virginia Class AA on Saturday, which is a 7:30 kickoff. That will be brought to you by Tony Lelly and Sean Blumetti. We want to thank our sponsor of the Coach Reno Suckoch Ohio Valley Sports Online Coaches Show, Fort Steuben Maintenance. And on behalf of Dan Vogel, this is Steve Daly. We hope you will join us Friday night. And until then, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.